Hello and welcome in to the IdahoSports.com 2025 State Softball Tournament Preview Special. We are coming to you live tonight on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. Thank you for all the softball diehards that are joining us tonight. We will be here for the next hour and change, breaking down the 5 state tournaments from 6A all the way down to 2A. Of course, you can watch this state tournament preview on replay at any time at those same destinations: YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram. And you can also listen to this podcast. I will be placing it into the podcast feed for all of our regular prepcasts: Magic Valley, North Idaho, and East Idaho as well. So all of that aside, my name is Brandon Baney. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. A couple of quick requests before we get to the state softball brackets. If you're hanging out tonight, interacting live with us, first of all, we want to hear from you, the fans. If you've got a favorite team, a favorite player, a favorite coach you want to shout out, or you got a question for one of our panelists, throw it in the chat. We'll throw it up on the screen. Really, this show is all about you, the fans. Also, while you're hanging out tonight with us live, if you could hit the like button or the subscribe button and then share this when it's all said and done, that will help everybody find this a little easier on replay as well. Okay, with all of that boring stuff out of the way, let's get to our panel tonight. You know him as the general manager and pretty much the guy when it comes to IdahoSports.com. It is Paul Kingsbury. What's up, Paul?
How are you doing, Brandon? Always good to be on these shows with you. Good times.
Yes, for sure. Now, these state tournament preview specials have become a staple at IdahoSports.com. We've done football, basketball, baseball the last couple of years. This is the first time since I've been here. This is year number 5 now. First time that we've done a state softball preview show.
Right.
And for good reason, because you tell me, I think for the first time in at least a long time or maybe ever, IdahoSports.com is going to be broadcasting some of the state softball tournament action this week.
That is correct. You know, as everybody knows, about a decade ago, things changed, and so the NFHS network has first option. And about a week and a half ago, the IHSA said, "Hey, they're only going to do the Saturday stuff. So if you want to do Thursday, Friday, have at it." And so we had a week and a half to kind of put things together and try and find guys that could get off work. And so we're doing and we'll get to exactly what we're doing. But for the first time, we're doing state softball as well as the baseball. So. Yeah, it could be fantastic, or it could be a glorious dumpster fire. We're going to see in about a week or a few days, I guess.
Well, it's not going to be a dumpster fire. I mean, I feel pretty confident about that. I mean,
are we live? I didn't realize we were live. Yeah, no, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be awesome. Yes. Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun, and we will have broadcast details as we go along here throughout the night. We also wanted to lean into, now usually we bring on the state tournament broadcasters and we ask them about the specific tournaments that they're going to be broadcasting. But Paul, for state softball this year, it's just you and me. That's it. We're the only guys broadcasting state softball. And I said, that's not good enough. Like, nobody wants to hear you and I talk for an hour plus. So I figured let's bring in some other voices that are recognizable from our various prepcasts across the state. Let's start with from the East Idaho prepcast, all the way from sunny Pocatello. It is Joel Richardson. What's up, Joel? Oh, you're on mute, Joel.
Hey, you know what? It's okay. It was so far not quite a dumpster fire, Paul, but I almost made it one. Guys,
No, you're good.
Yeah, it is sunny here in Pocatello. Unfortunately, my eye is not feeling so well. I think I got a bout of pink eye. Got the drops going this morning, but luckily we're all, far away from each other. So even though being on here live with you guys, no one will get sick through the ethers of Idaho Sports. But no, pleasure to be here and pleasure to talk some softball for the first time. We all get to be on and do this preview show. Really excited about that.
Yeah, Joel, I was not going to put that information on public blast, but here you are volunteering it, and we appreciate your bravery to step up and do this tonight. So
Bob Costas and myself, we have a lot in common,
Yeah, Bob Costas very famously anchored Olympics coverage a couple of years ago, I believe in Sochi, Winter Olympics coverage while battling pink eye. Here's a guy that is like Bob Costas in many ways, including style, suaveness, debonair. It's Scott Burton from the Magic Valley Prepcast. Yo, what's up, Scott?
I thought you were going to segue. Speaking of dumpster fires,
and I said that's what I was going to say, and I stopped. I'm like, dude, I set you up perfectly with the segue, but Brandon's too nice of a guy to do that. But I was thinking the exact same thing. I would have done it.
I would have done it too. To me.
Yeah. Speaking of dumpster fires, yeah.
Let's bring us Scott Burton from the Magic Valley. What's going on, fellas?
Yo, good to see you, Scott. You're going to be broadcasting state baseball for us a little bit later on this week. Joel is not broadcasting anything, so that's why I buttered up Scott, because we need him to still, commit to what he said he was going to later this week. I don't want to alienate our broadcaster.
We're not going to catch pink eye by doing this together, are we?
As long as you wear your mask, you should be okay.
Wow!
Don't you ever say wear a mask again, ever?
Yeah.
Oh,
ever.
That's funny. That's funny.
I was going to ask how you got it, but just like
I have no idea. No idea.
None of our business.
None of our business.
Yeah, that's a HIPAA violation that won't be shared on this show tonight.
All right. Well, on that note, no way to pivot out of that one, Scotty. So we will get to it. Let's go. For the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to be talking about the Class 6A state softball tournament. Ironically, this is the only softball tournament we will not be broadcasting on IdahoSports.com. You will have to turn to other sources to get your 6A softball content, but still important to talk about it. And so here is the bracket. Paul, I will let you bat lead off here. We've got number 3, Eagle, number 6, Coeur d'Alene, 2 and 7, Timberline and Capital, Owyhee and Rocky Mountain, the 1 and the 8, and then Mountain View and Highland in that 4-5 matchup. What jumps out to you right away when you look at this bracket?
Of course, everyone's thinking Owyhee. It's like boys basketball. Owyee's got it in the bag. Everyone's playing for second. But I don't know. I'm looking at Timberline. They got 2 losses this year, 1 to Owyhee, 1 to Eagle in extra innings. Timberline has that. And talk about – are you going to ask about dark horses at the end of this?
Yes.
Okay, I won't say my dark horse then. But Timberline's got a shot to get out of that and into that championship. And who knows? Who knows what can happen? But I think it's definitely going to be an SIC championship, probably third place, probably all the way up and down. It's one of those 6 out of 8 teams of the SIC, so it makes it pretty rough. But it's everybody has the work cut out for them with Owyhee, but that top of the bracket, Timberline's number 2, but it's pretty evenly with that Eagle, Coeur d'Alene, Timberline. I think any of those could come out as well.
Yeah, so let's take a look at Timberline here. Timberline, 18-4 overall, 2 state titles in their history. Look at some of the stats here. Ivy Norskog, just a freshman, Paul, batting .547 on the year, 32 runs scored. And then Delaney Wright, who has thrown several no-hitters this year, 195 strikeouts, 41 walks in the circle for Delaney Wright. And then, by the way, batting .589 with 5 homers at the plate too. We're going to see that. That's going to be a theme throughout the night, Paul. Dual threats in the pitcher's circle and at the plate.
It is. Up and down as I was looking through that. But kind of like other sports, when you're in that 6A, even down into 5A, a lot of times they're specializing, right? And so your pitchers are your pitchers. And you're right. Up and down, there's so many pitchers in this state tournament that are also in the top 1, 2, 3 in batting average as well. So they're just all around really great athletes in this tournament. And there's a lot of youth in this tournament, like Norskog is a freshman.
Scott, let me get your opinion on this. Owyhee is the big story. They're the number 1 overall seed. But you will notice they do have a blemish on the resume, 24-1 overall. Scott, the loss came in the district tournament, not even in the championship. They lost in the district tournament semifinals to Eagle. This is a very good team. New coach this year in John Carpenter. You see all of the great, I want to get your opinion on 2 things. Number 1, we've talked about this a lot. How important is it for a team to suffer a loss before state? We see so often undefeated teams go into state. They haven't felt that experience of getting knocked back and losing. It's okay to get a loss out of the way ahead of state, right?
No, absolutely. I think it's probably the best thing that could have happened to Owyhee. We've seen so many teams that have this target on their back that's so big because they don't have a loss. And then they get that loss, it refocuses them, and off we go. And and the team I was looking at too was Eagle, just because of this reason. If there's anybody that's got a little bit of confidence to take on Owyhee, assuming that Eagle can get there, I think we're all saying Owyhee's going to get there. But I think Hawaii losing in that district tournament, man, best thing could have happened to him.
Yeah, we see Eagle here with the most state titles of anybody by far at this 6A state tournament, 8 in their history. And Coach Nicole Rollins has won several of those as well. So she knows how to get it done this time of year for sure. And Scott, we're so used to in baseball talking about you have to have 3 pitchers lined up to navigate your way through state. In softball, all you need is one, as long as they're a workhorse and can deliver. But if we go back to Hawaii, they actually have 2 pitchers, a freshman and a sophomore. Now, Brandon has thrown most of the innings this year, but Haley Brock has also gotten a lot of innings, and they both have sub-2 ERAs, and they're both a combined 14-0.
Yeah, it's amazing as you do the research through this, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this too, but there are so many freshmen and sophomores that are just stud players for a lot of these teams. And for Haley Brock to come in, I mean, to do what she's doing as a freshman, and Haley Brennan coming in as a freshman. I mean, look at that strikeout to walk ratio as a sophomore and the ERAs. I mean, people are going to have to deal with these two for a little while longer. But it's also going to be interesting to see, because in softball, you can throw the same person forever and ever. What do you do when you got 2 studs like that? Are they competing for the circle? What are they doing? Somebody transfer? What do they do?
What?
Wow. Yeah, that's okay. We'll talk about that another time.
Zing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Zinger
Joel,
right there.
Joel, let me get your thoughts on this bracket here. We've talked a lot about Hawaii and Timberline and Eagle early on here, but what stands out to you when you look at this bracket, Joel? Oh, Joel, you're on mute again.
I keep doing that. I'm sorry, guys. It's I blame the disease. No, what stands out to me is there's one team, guys. Have we not talked about Highland? One team out of this entire bracket that's not an SIC. If I got that right, that's correct. No.
Well, Coeur d'Alene as well.
Coeur d'Alene.
Up north.
Coeur d'Alene. Okay, what at North Idaho? Where are they on here? I don't see anyone from North Idaho. Where's Skaggs? Okay, excuse me. So Coeur d'Alene and Highland, right? 5 and 6. I think Eagle beats Coeur d'Alene. I think Highland has a decent chance against Mountain View. Let's talk about Highland. But you guys both mentioned it, young players across these teams. Highland includes in that with their junior Reese Spivey. You got that in there. McKenna Sutton, that pitching that 4.7 ERA, 134 Ks. So Highland might be 1 year away, but I like this experience for Highland going into next year with the young team. Unfortunately for Highland, as everybody else, like Scott already mentioned, everybody else is also young. So tough for that opportunity for Highland to not just allow this to be an experience, because next year there's going to be, again, a lot of the same teams with that similar experience. But really, really excited to see Highland go out there, compete against the Mustangs or the Mavericks from Mountain View. Mountain View is batting .335, 428 on base percentage. Highland 261, so lower batting average overall, and 393 on base percentage. So I think Highland has a chance if they bring really good stuff in that first game. If not, yeah, probably 1 year away for this one from Highland. But really excited to see what Highland and Coeur d'Alene, the non-SIC teams, what they can do in this tournament.
Yeah, Mountain View is tough to gauge because they're 15 and 6, but I mean, all the losses the SIC this year was really good for softball, as 6 of the 8 teams in the bracket are from District 3 and that SIC. We did mention Coeur d'Alene from the north. I guess I'm kind of carrying the banner tonight for North Idaho. That is where I live. Bobby Doretta, veteran coach at Coeur d'Alene, just seems to get the Vikings to state year in, year out. They're 18 and 2 overall. Scott, we talk about this all the time. It's difficult to gauge that 18 and 2 because North Idaho kind of operates in its own independent silo. Coeur d'Alene's played some Washington schools. They've played some really good teams from North Idaho, but it's always hard to gauge how those teams from the north will come down and do at state.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like traveling to a time warp. You don't know who they're playing. There's no, common denominators, and you never know. We see it every year in basketball. It's no different in baseball or softball or anything else. And, once in a while they come out of the north with just a juggernaut of a team that nobody expected. And then sometimes they come out overrated. And we saw that this past year in basketball. So, yeah, flip a coin. You never know what you're getting.
Well, if I can interject, you're talking about Coeur d'Alene, they're 18 and 2, right? Well, their losses are to Lake City and Post Falls. Well, they beat Lake City 5 other times on the season. They beat Post Falls 3 other times. So they're 8-2 against those 2 teams. So are they really a number 6 seed? Honestly, coming out of there, I mean, that's got to just be strength of schedule coming out on that. But
yeah,
I don't know. You look at it 18-2, and the teams that beat them, they beat them 8 other times.
Well, and that's what we're talking about is how do you properly rank them? Because we saw both sides of that spectrum where we know that a team like Coeur d'Alene is pretty good, but obviously there's a formula there saying they're not as good as they appear to be, and we've seen the flip side of that as well.
And isn't this an opportunity to discuss a play-in series for softball? Wouldn't that solve a lot of these problems?
Like baseball, you're saying, Joel?
Like baseball, and I know there's been complaints across from parents. They got to travel twice, back-to-back weekends. But I feel like for softball, for a team like Coeur d'Alene, we sit here and Scott's done a good job of politically managing that. But we're kind of showing the door to Coeur d'Alene. But Coeur d'Alene could go to regional and prove themselves, or the regional shows that it is truly the SIC. A regional would solve a lot of those questions, would answer a lot of those questions.
Would it raise even more problems, though? Find out tomorrow night on the baseball preview show.
That's right.
Joel, you are singing music to my ears, but the other 2 guys on the panel tonight, not the target audience you're looking for. So
okay, another time, another discussion for another time.
Yes, Paul, I know you were itching to get us your dark horse here. Let's take a look at this bracket again. Give me your dark horse team in this bracket.
It's Coeur d'Alene for the reasons I just said.
Okay. Well, on that note, let's cover the 2 teams that did qualify at the end of the bracket. Let's start with Rocky Mountain. They had this wild, Joel. They beat Thunder Ridge in the play-in game on Saturday, and Thunder Ridge was the regular season champion over there in East Idaho. Wild back-and-forth game, 8-7. They get the walk-off basically in the bottom of the 7th to win it. They're 16-14 overall, but a team with momentum is a dangerous team this time of year. And to knock out a good Thunder Ridge team like that, Joel, we have to pay attention to Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, definitely. So watch for them to make a run here, especially with their strength of schedule playing in the mighty SIC. Disappointing for Thunder Ridge, definitely, because not just for Thunder Ridge, but also the East Idaho, contingent of districts 5 and 6. They want to send 2. They want to show that, we belong in baseball, softball, but them losing kind of continues, furthers the story of SIC is king in baseball, softball, and in this case, softball. So unfortunately for Thunder Ridge, but Rocky Mountain is more real this year than they have been in past years. So too bad for Thunder Ridge as the East Idaho guy here, but you got to win your games. And it's because there's no regional. You really have to win that play-in game.
No doubt. And then Scott Capital gets into the tournament. They're 16-12. Scott, they came into their district tournament as the number 10 seed. They were 10 out of 13 in District 3's Southern Idaho Conference. They caught, as we've said so often on the Magic Valley Prepcast, lightning in a bottle at the absolute right time. And look at this, 3 hitters that are batting .440 or better, and McKenna Chavez batting .587 on the season with 10 homers. I mean, that's big league.
Yeah, 587. I'm looking at that going, are you kidding me? You get hot at the right time. You never know. I think in this particular softball tournament, though, it's you're going to run into a buzzsaw of a pitcher, and that's going to shut this whole dream down, because that's the reality of it. Good for them for getting here. I know all too well how that works because we just did the same thing, and once we kind of got a dose of reality, we were done. And so it just in softball, it just takes one person to flip the entire script, and it's who's standing in the circle.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the other lightning in a bottle. For those that don't know, Scott is also in addition to being an acclaimed Emmy award-winning broadcaster at IdahoSports.com, he is also the athletic director at Jerome High School. We're going to talk about the Jerome Tigers and the Cinderella run they've been on in softball and the rest of the 5A bracket, as well as our state softball tournament preview show rolls along here. Here is Matthew Creech. Matt Creech from Capitol High, girls basketball coach. McKenna is a player of the year level kid, committed to the Big 12 BYU. She's an absolute stud. That's McKenna Chavez from Capitol High. We love it. And if there are athletes that are moving on to the next level, we want to hear from you in the chat. let's give these athletes and coaches some love for sure. So that 6A tournament's going to be a lot of fun. It is being held simultaneously at Hawaii and Eagle High Schools this Thursday through Saturday. Okay. When we come back on our state softball tournament preview special, we'll break out the 5A brackets, couple of dark horses, couple of Cinderellas, couple of big teams sitting at home, not participating. We'll break it all down for you next here on IdahoSports.com.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
All the way. Go. All the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.
Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com 2025 State Softball Tournament Preview Special here on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook. Brandon Bainey, Paul Kingsbury, Scott Burton, and Joel Richardson here with you as we get ready for our 5A State Tournament Preview. Here is the bracket, guys. 3 and 6, Middleton and Lewiston. The 2 and 7 is Blackfoot and Burley. Pocatello and Jerome, the 1 versus the 8, and Bishop Kelly and Skyview, all District 3 matchup there in the 4-5. Scott, I'll go to you first. This is the classification you know the best because you are a 5A athletic director. What jumps out to you right away when you look at this bracket?
Bishop Kelly and Pocatello on the same side. They played in the state title game last year, and Pocatello beat them. And that jumped out at me like right away. We could have a matchup in the second round between the two that played in the title game, and either one of those two could win it. I really like this Bishop Kelly team, and we can get more into that in a minute.
Wow.
But jumps
Does that hurt you to say that, Scott?
It really burned. I threw up in my mouth just a little bit. But
well,
no,
I mean,
I have a lot of friends at Bishop Kelly. Don't get me wrong. We tease because it's obvious.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, let's talk about Bishop Kelly, Scott. 13 state softball, like every sport, multiple state titles, 13 in their history in softball. I think what's really been impressive to me this year is Lauren Feddick inside the pitcher's circle, 15-3, a 2.34 ERA. She has been an absolute ace in the circle for Bishop Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at this Bishop Kelly Knight team, and you forget about the stats, forget about Feddick for a moment. They lost last year in the championship game, right? They are good this year, and don't think that isn't something that's on their bulletin board. You know, they have the best batting average of anybody in the 5As. They have one of the better pitchers. You know, I mean, you talk about what Feddick has done: 184 strikeouts to 55 walks. She's 15-3 on the year. So in order to be successful, you've got to be able to do a couple of things. And so what I did is I broke down a whole lot of numbers on this 5A. I went through who's got the best batting average, who scores the most runs per game, who strikes out the most at the plate per game, you know, as a hitter, fielding percentage, and then of course ERA. And when I added it all up and I kind of assigned points to whatever, Bishop Kelly, they had everything. They are the ones that have the best batting average. They strike out less than any team in this field, only 4.8 times per game, which means they're putting the ball in play. And you can't win unless you put the ball in play. And we have seen that in baseball. We've seen that in softball. The teams that can get the bat on the ball and make the defense work a little bit, they create their own opportunities. Bishop Kelly does exactly that. And, you know, they've got a 935 fielding percentage on top of that, a 2.94 ERA, which is second in the field behind Middleton. I mean, they are there. And I think they're the most well-rounded team in the field. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, they've had to change the DNA of their program a little bit. The past couple of years, they've kind of been known as the Bishop Kelly Bomb Squad. A lot of girls that hit home runs, you know, multiple players with double-digit home run totals. And this year, not quite as much power. Like you said, they put the ball in play. They run the bases well. They play exceptional defense. And so it's impressive that they've been able to basically change their identity a little bit and still continue to roll. And yet, Joel, East Idaho can't get any respect here. We've gone like 5 minutes into this 5A discussion, and we're not even talking about the defending champions yet from Pocatello High School. They won their first softball championship in school history last year under head coach Josh Naylor. And guess what? They're pretty good this year, 21-4 overall, and back to defend the title.
Yeah, and I guess my only pushback would be, strength of schedule. And I didn't get a chance to look at that before we came on. Obviously, Pocatello is the number 1 seed. They won a ton of games. And I've totally gone against what I'm about to argue in terms of strength of schedule and stuff. But yeah, looking at the schedule, who is Bishop Kelly playing and how are they getting their averages so high? And they have some good teams on that schedule, but isn't that conference tend to be a little bit weaker? And I'm not saying Pocatello's conference any stronger. They play Century, and Century hasn't been hasn't been that good this year and for the last few years. So Pocatello's got to get outside of their conference to really strengthen their schedule. I think their strength of schedule is stronger than Bishop Kelly's. I think that helps get them that 1 seed. And Pocatello's averages may not be as high as Bishop Kelly's, but I think that's because of the harder teams they had to play. I didn't get that deep into the numbers though, so maybe Scott has a counter to that counter. But I'm very curious. Yeah, how Pocatello and Bishop Kelly, because they've got to meet, right, guys? Like we got to have that as fans and as broadcasters and analysts. So I'm really looking forward to that game because I love the numbers Scott brought out there. I think that Pocatello's schedule is going to be a little bit tougher, and so the numbers might be a little bit lower. And so we are very curious, and hopefully we get that game. But hey, we see every year, maybe not every year, but we see too frequently, guys, 1 seeds go down.
Yeah, that seems to happen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I will mention, Bishop Kelly, typically that conference is very top heavy. They did get 3 teams into the tournament this year. Bishop Kelly and Skyview playing right away in that 4-5. And then, of course, Middleton up here at number 3. They are playing 6A baseball, but 5A softball. Paul, Skyview is a team that until last year had won 3 state championships in a row, 2 at the 6A level, 1 at the 5A level. And this is a Skyview team that is 14-14 this year, but under veteran coach Tim Souza, they found a way to get state once again.
Yeah, he's been coaching a long time. He was actually at CUNA for a little while, been over to Skyview, but just like everyone else, look at pitching is where you really have to look at it. And that's going to be your win or lose on that. You can have great hitting. You can have all of it, but it all comes down to who's in the circle. And you look at McKenna right there, just a sophomore, 106 strikeouts, 56 walks, 4 home runs. Of course, she can hit like everybody else. But it's just going to come down to who else. And, they've won 3 out of the last 4 years. You definitely can't overlook them. 14-14, that puts them at a lower seed. But I just think that bottom bracket is pretty cut and dry. Pocatello is going to come out. The only question in the top is Middleton and Blackfoot in the semis. And I think Middleton has the edge with pitching. So Pocatello, Middleton in the finals, and Hokie wins it.
Okay. Scott, let's talk about the last team that's in that bottom quadrant of the bracket. That would be your Jerome Tigers, who caught lightning in a bottle, 16-11 overall. They came into districts as the number 4 seed, Scott. Not only did they advance to the district championship and earn it, one of the 2 bids to state available from District 4, they won the whole enchilada. They didn't lose at the district tournament. Pretty impressive.
No, they got hot at the right time. And this is a pretty good team. They've got some young kids that are stepping up and playing well, and they're led by Ellie Helmer, the junior, who's leading them in offensive categories, and a freshman stepping in with Sawyer Gerard there. But the thing it's going to be, well, and I sound like a broken record, it's going to be the pitching, because they don't have that dominant pitcher. But Brianna Robinette has really, really improved. She's not going to overpower you, but she does a really good job of getting ground balls, fly balls. People aren't hitting the ball hard off of her. And it's kind of a weird thing. So she's really kind of tailored her game a little bit, to that. And then defensively, they play decent defense, and they could surprise some people. I don't know if they're going to surprise Pocatello, okay, but they could get into that Saturday. We'll see.
Yeah, should be interesting for sure. And then Carly Huddleston, the softball coach there, Lyle Huddleston, of course, legendary softball coach at Jerome, keeping it in the family there, Scott.
Yes. Oh yeah, she's been a longtime assistant under under her dad, and the girls just loved her, and her style fit what we needed, and hasn't missed a beat. Hasn't missed a beat at all.
For sure. Here is Shauna Wooden Reynolds in the chat. Let's go. I think that's
Is that an apple? What is that?
That's a Bronco. It's a horse. Is that supposed to be Broncos?
Okay. Yeah, I think so, because Brianna Reynolds has no.
Who said apple? Who said apple?
I did.
Scott.
Never mind. I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is in reference to the Blackfoot Broncos, Joel, because Brianna Reynolds has had a fantastic year for Blackfoot. Let's break it down. The Broncos 24-5 overall. And yet you see Reynolds doing it in the circle and at the plate. And yet, Joel, their backs were against the wall at districts. They lost to Bonneville in that undefeated semifinal at districts, and they had to rally up. I believe it was 3 win-or-go-home games in a row. They had to beat Bonneville twice to earn the outright district title, and then Bonneville lost to Pocatello in that playing game. That would have been a real tragedy if Blackfoot and Pocatello, the 2 district champions, had to play in a play-in game.
Yeah, definitely. Imagine having a play-in series and solving that problem. I mean, sorry, I already said that one time. Yeah, no, I'm so glad Blackfoot won that game. It really, most of the season, and Sean and I, Blackfoot, I think twice on the East Idaho Prepcast, Blackfoot was our team of the week. They continue to win every a game in, game out. And then, that district tournament, guys, they they struggled. And not just that Bonneville game where they lost, they had to go 3 in a row to defeat Bonneville. So kudos to Bonneville for fighting hard. It didn't end up getting to state. But Blackfoot, kind of struggling down the stretch. But Scott mentioned it earlier, then was a good time to lose, right? You get that out of the way, because Blackfoot didn't do a lot of losing this year. As you see on your screen, they're 24-5, only 5 losses, and that includes playing conference games. But lose then so you don't lose now. And Blackfoot gets to have this game against number 7 Burley. And we already teased that a little bit, guys. But Scott, again, so psyched for Jerome, the 4th seed getting to state. And now we're missing someone, a big team, Twin Falls. You got Burley, you got Jerome, and no Twin Falls. That's wild. You play the games, right?
Yeah, don't think that's not a big feather in everybody's cap down here just to keep Twin out. But and I say that in a kind of a friendly fire way, because Tanya Burke is a kind of like a little sister to me. She grew up at my house when she was a kid. But yeah, we're happy that we're there and Twin's not. Now, I will say this, Joel, as I was kind of going through Blackfoot was the other team that really jumped at me as a team with a chance to win this thing. I'm getting away from Pocatello. Pocatello, they're defending champs. Everybody, don't go chalk. Who can beat them? I really like this Blackfoot team as well, coming out of that top part of the bracket. They score the most runs of anybody in the tournament. They're averaging over 11 runs a game. They have, when we talked about, Brianna Reynolds, 5.16 average, but the thing about that, out of all the plate appearances she's had, she has only struck out 7 times. I mean, that's incredible. Yeah. And they don't strike out as a team. They put it in play. Kylie Pratt, Brianna Reynolds. I mean, both of them can get the job done in the circle. They've got enough. They got enough to get there. I like this team.
Yeah. Paul, let me ask you, in girls basketball, we saw a lot of these same programs at state, and it ended up being Pocatello and Middleton in this collision course in what was a great championship matchup. The bracket sets up, it could be that way again. Let's talk about Middleton for a second here, because they have had a fantastic regular season as well. 23-4 overall, 5 state championships in their history. And if you look at some of their key players, they're led by a freshman pitcher in Libby Garcia, who is 8-0, undefeated in the circle this year with a 1.12 ERA.
Which is pretty impressive to be undefeated 8-0 in that conference. It's incredible, especially 8-0 and a 1.2. I don't know how many innings she pitched, but obviously it was quite a few. And one thing that's surprising, you mentioned about comparing it to basketball, is we don't, you would think, okay, well, you're going to see the same names, right? Your athletes, and you can, but there's no Blackwells here in what you're seeing right here. And you would have thought, well, if they're this good, again, you're going to have Blackwells. No, Middleton just kicks out good athletes all the way around, and they're a good athletic school, and it's going to be, like I said, I think it's going to come down to these guys in the championship.
Yeah, Middleton and Blackfoot in that undefeated that semifinal on the top half of the bracket could be really juicy. Scott, talk to me about Burley a little bit. Burley was the other team that got to the district championship against Jerome. We thought maybe coming in, it was going to be Twin Falls and maybe Wood River. We're going to be the two teams representing this district at state. Instead, it's Jerome and Burley. Now, Burley's 13-11, but they played a rigorous schedule this year.
Yeah, this is a pretty good Burley team. They have, if you want to go through all those categories that I was talking about, they have the best fielding percentage of any team here. They don't score a lot of runs, but they play really good defense. They're led by a freshman phenom, Adeline Olmos, who's hitting .580 as a freshman. And then Taylon Beck is hitting .488. But after that is where it really kind of drops off for Burley. Olmos and Beck are going to have to play well. But if they're going to have a chance to play for some hardware at some point, they're going to need some help. And this is where they've got to be able to score some runs. Olmos is doing the job in the circle, but they don't have a whole lot of depth there. After her, that's it. And remember, she's a freshman. Her 3.08 ERA, 169 strikeouts, but they've got to find some help. They've only got really 2 power hitters and 1 pitcher. They need some pieces to step up and play. But this is a really good Burley team.
Yeah, and we should note Taylon Beck is an Oakley Hornet on loan. Oakley, of course, doesn't have enough players for their own team, so you go to Burley, and the next closest school over, and they're glad to have her. No doubt about it. Great athlete from Oakley High School there.
Great hooper.
Yes, great basketball player for sure. And then to wrap it up, guys, from the north, we do have the Lewiston Bengals, who won the regular season title. Now, you're going to look at this record and go 14-12 overall. You have to remember that the Inland Empire League, the district up north, makes the 6A and 5A teams play together in a combined league. So Lewiston had to play Coeur d'Alene and Lake City and Post Falls and all these big 6A schools. So 14-12 overall. Jesse Roll, great coach. Previously, I believe, was at Cul-de-Sac, back when Cul-de-Sac had a softball program. That's been a couple of years now. He's at Lewiston. The fantastic Jenna Barney, the Barney girls. There were 3 of them that have come through the program in recent years. Jenna in her senior year has been fantastic, batting almost .575 with 11 home runs. This is a Lewiston team that is built on power and offense. You'll notice here 4 hitters we've highlighted. The big thing for them, Scott, and I'm sure you saw this in your data, is going to be run prevention. They've gotten into a lot of slugfests this year up north, and the pitching is going to have to be on point if they want to hang with some of these teams at state.
Yeah, that's what's going to get them. This is what's going to catch up to Lewiston. I mean, they can score the runs. I mean, when you play type of conference against a lot of those bigger schools, and you're still averaging almost 11 runs a game, okay, offense is there. They're hitting .368 as a team, and that's pretty impressive. And you already talked about Jenna Barney and her .574 average, but she only struck out 5 times this year. And this is a team that's only striking out 5.5 times per game. So they're getting the bat on the ball. Offensively, I don't think that's the problem. It's going to be in the circle. Do they have enough to hold off some of these really good offensive teams? I don't know if they do.
Yeah, that will be the ultimate test for sure. This is going to be a 5A tournament that's got several contenders, several schools we're used to seeing at state: Middleton, Skyview, Blackfoot, Pocatello very recently, Bishop Kelly. I mean, this to me is going to be maybe one of the most fun tournaments. And Paul, you are going to be, actually, I'm going to be broadcasting this tournament. It is at the Skyview Park, which is right by Skyview High School. Yeah. And basically, Paul, there's going to be 4 fields, 4 games, all happening simultaneously, both Thursday and Friday on IdahoSports.com. That's the other thing we should note. No Saturday softball coverage from IdahoSports.com. That will be the other network that is broadcasting those. But we are going to I'm going to be there at Skyview Park. We're going to have 4 games going at one time, and we're just going to play traffic cop and kind of weave through the action. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
NFL Red Zone. Think NFL Red Zone.
Yeah,
that's going to be awesome. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It's going to be something.
I'm already chugging coffee in preparation for, being able to talk nonstop for hours. So
Yeah.
that 5A tournament's going to be a lot of fun. It is at, again, Skyview Park, which is right by Skyview High School in Nampa. When we come back, the 4A state tournament, which is also at Skyview Park. A lot of interesting teams, some new teams like Preston. They moved down a level in softball, and it paid off in a big way. They got the state in their first year as a 4A program. We will talk about that bracket and more right after this. You're watching the 2025 Idaho State Softball Tournament Preview Special on IdahoSports.com.
At Valleywide Cooperative, we're here when you need us. For 100 years, we have been here to help you with food, fuel, and good old-fashioned advice. And for us, serving is more than a job, it's a way of life, which is why we pour so much into the communities around us. We've employed hundreds of your neighbors. We take pride in that, and in giving back millions in sponsorships, grants, donations, and scholarships. It's our way of saying thanks. We're Valleywide, and yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we're here for you.
Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com State Softball Tournament Preview Special, rolling along with the State 4A bracket. And again, we mentioned this is at Skyview Park, right next to Skyview High School. Here are the matchups, 3 versus 6. That's Weiser and Timberlake. Timberlake, the champions from the north. Coal Valley Christian, the number 2 seed. One of the new teams. Actually, this matchup here, 2 versus 7. 2 teams that were not at this classification level a year ago. Preston, the 7, was up a classification level, Class 5A. They petitioned down due to competitive reasons. Coal Valley Christian was a 3A school last year. They moved up to 4A due to blossoming enrollment. So that's going to be an interesting first round matchup there. Then on the bottom half of the bracket, Kimberly, the 1, they'll play Marsh Valley, the 8. And then the 4 and 5, it's Gooding and Teton. Joel, I'll let you go first this time. What is the first thing that jumps out to you when you look at this bracket?
You already teased this, so let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about Preston. This is their first state appearance, I believe. First district championship in 16 years, guys. So that's got to feel good if you're Preston. And like you see on the screen, no state titles, 16-10 overall. So kind of a good ending to their season, of course, but a lot of back and forth with 10 losses to some good teams in that 4A SCIC and in their non-conference. Brielle Briggs playing strong, Ellie Keller, and you'll see on there with Avery Madsen as well, all sophomores and freshmen. I want to say there's just like 1 or 2 seniors on this team with a handful of underclassmen. So really cool to see these young girls producing good enough games to win the district and get to the state tournament behind their head coach, who that was the last time they won the district, or I think they went to state, was with their coach Hemmer. So really cool to kind of come full circle for their head coach. I'm really excited for Preston. I don't know how deep they're going to go in this tournament, guys. I'm excited to see what they can do. But with this young team, and this might be another Highland situation where they're 1 or 2 years out, but good experience for this Preston Indians team nonetheless. And they won the games they needed to, and now they're playing at state.
Yep, won the district championship over Marsh Valley, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. Paul, tough opponent right out of the gates. And this, to me, is the most intriguing team because we know Coal Valley Christian is a good team. This is the first year they've done this at the 4A level. Well, all they did is go out and win the regular season title and the district tournament title. The Chargers are 22-4, up to their usual shenanigans. They love to be aggressive on the base paths, multiple players with 20, 30 stolen bases. And Carly Barnum, maybe one of the least heralded pitchers this year, who has just been absolutely sensational.
Well, don't forget, they're also defending, well, I guess they're not defending champions. They won the championship last year in what was 2A. Right. And they beat a very good Malad team. They broke up a back-to-back for Malad. So Coal Valley, I mean, they're a state champion, move up this year, and bam, they're, a number 2 team on the bracket. I mean, how cool is that? That just means they reloaded, even though they went up. So that's very impressive for Coal Valley to do that.
Yeah, they've got 3 players that basically had 40 stolen bases or more. Lola Crosby at 49, Lauren Colson at 41, Abby English at 38. So they get traffic on the base paths, and then they make you work for it for sure. And then, like we said, Carly Barnum, 14-1 in the circle. And then offensively, 6 home runs, second on the team, only behind Lauren Colson's 11. Scott, how hard is it to hit double-digit home runs in a season? That's pretty difficult.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you consider that once you a few things. Once you kind of become known for being able to hit for power, well, people aren't giving you anything good to pitch. Then you have to figure, okay, I'm playing in Idaho springtime weather. Which way's the wind blowing? I've got a 30-mile-an-hour wind coming in from right field. I'm not hitting any out today.
Which way is the lightning striking from?
Exactly. So you've got so many moving parts, and you still have to have an incredible hand-eye coordination, and I mean, there's just so many things. It is really hard, to
Scott, you were a stud baseball player in high school. You went on to play college. Did you ever hit double-digit home runs? I don't know if you were a power hitter or not.
No, I did not. And it's just one of those things the power swing is something that is so mechanical. If you don't have the right mechanics when you're swinging, you're not generating power, because we've seen so many of these kids just swing so hard, but the mechanics are off. And then they have as many strikeouts as they do anything else. Okay, fine. Right. They're going to put 10, 12 over the fence, but they're going to strike out 20 times,
Right.
But the mechanics of some of these kids that we are seeing is so much better. And that's why they're hitting, you talk about that Coal Valley team. They've got 4 players that are hitting over 500 on the season, and you mentioned a lot of them. Colson, Barnum, English, Crosby, they're all hitting over 500. But their mechanics are so good that they're hitting for power too. And so you got to get that right combination. And you see a lot of that. And, and a lot of that too is this year-round softball that they're playing, and all these clubs and travel teams and whatever, they're getting it. So there you go.
Been a lot of fun. Also at the top half of the bracket, the 3 and the 6, Weiser and Timberlake. Paul, here are some names we recognize from other Weiser girls athletic. I mean, Ellie Schertz. I mean, she's like a 3-sport athlete, does it all. She's batting .662, Paul. That might be one of, if not the highest batting averages we'll see on this preview show tonight.
Are you sure that's not a typo? Is that a typo?
Yeah, dead serious.
No. So, and going back to what Scott just said, right? She's hitting .662 with 2 home runs. It's 34 RBIs though. So she gets on base, right? She's that valuable hitter that can put the ball in play, move runners forward, and keep things in play. And I think that's a perfect example of that right there. .662, 2 home runs, great, 40 runs scored. She's like the perfect hitter on your team, really. It's great.
Yep. And Janicek inside the circle, 2.15 5, 2.52 ERA. Weiser is now. I'm really intrigued with this first round matchup because I do live in North Idaho. I have seen Timberlake play a lot this year. 15-3, kind of, again, the unknown up here in North Idaho. It's just them and Bonners Ferry, and Timberlake has owned this district for a long time. How long have they owned this? Well, their most recent district title was their 6th in a row. They won their first district title in school history in the year 2000, guys. And since then, there have been 25 district championships to be won. Timberlake has won 18 of those 25. And then it's just a continued run of success. Can they get it done at state? Their most impactful player this year is a freshman, Shea Jones, 14-1, a 1.40 ERA, 3 strikeouts shy of 200, multiple no-hitters, a perfect game or 2 this year. She leads the team in batting as well. That's a lot to ask of a freshman, her first time at state. Timberlake's going to have to travel the furthest of any team in Idaho. They're going to have to come all the way from Spirit Lake down to the Treasure Valley. And yet, if they can get past that first game and get past Weiser and be able to take a sigh of relief and go, okay, we just passed our first test, I think they could really take off. I think the winner of that Weiser-Timberlake game could be in a good spot. As we look at the bottom half of the bracket here, again, some very intriguing matchups. You've got the 2 Magic Valley teams from Kimberly and Gooding, and 2 East Idaho teams from Marsh Valley and Teton. So, Scott, let's talk about Kimberly. They are the defending champions. I forgot to I did include it on this graphic. 5 state titles, including back-to-back in 23 and 24. They are going for the three-peat. I feel like Mallory Kelsey has been at Kimberly for like 7 years because she's just been dominating the lineup year in, year out. It is her senior season. And this is, again, a team that is 23-2-1, one tie at a tournament earlier this year.
You know what? This tournament is Kimberly's to lose. I mean, when you have a player as dominant as Mallory Kelsey is, not just in the circle, but at the plate, she's hitting 542, and they have a freshman in Gracie Alleman hitting 500. I mean, they've got firepower. And they are the defending champs until somebody, knocks them off. And Kelsey, the job that she's done inside the circle, a 1.56 ERA, 15-0, 155 strikeouts to just 11 walks. She's coming at you. She's going to challenge you. And she will dominate in this tournament without a doubt. And I do think it's Kimberly's to lose. I do like that Cole Valley matchup with Kimberly in the championship. I'm pegging that one. And I think that's going to be a game.
Can Kelsey keep the Chargers off the base paths? Because we know once they get on, they're going to run. And so that's going to be the key if those two do meet at state. Right away, though, first roadblock for Kimberly are the Marsh Valley Eagles, Joel. 8-18 this season. They took third place in their district in the regular season, beat Bear Lake, the 2 seed, not once but twice at districts to earn their spot to state. It was a district that got 2 auto bids. So here's Marsh Valley kind of playing with house money. Expectations are low. Nobody's expecting much here, but they've got some dynamic athletes, and they can play more loose than just about anybody here at state.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're playing that Kimberly team that, by the way, has the lowest ERA in all of 4A, if I'm not mistaken, if not ERA, runs allowed, and maybe Scott can confirm those numbers. But yeah, Kimberly doesn't give up much. I think less than 2 runs a game. So yeah, Marsh Valley Eagles are going to have to find something from somewhere. But a good thing is last year they were here, right? They beat Parma last year in the opening round, but then they lost to Kimberly, surprise, surprise, and they lost to Teton in that final game for their tournament. So some of these 2 players have been there. Head coach Peyton Campbell knows the head coach knows what they're doing. But I think when you're averaging not 7 runs a game, but you're giving up 8, it's going to be tough for Marsh Valley. It's going to be tough out for Kimberly. But yeah, when you're playing with house money, you never know. A couple of balls bounce wrong for Kimberly. Someone's maybe boyfriend broke up with them the night before. You never know what might happen, and you play the game. But I'm with Scott. I think Kimberly wins this pretty easily, and looking forward to a Kimberly Cole Valley Christian game. But yeah, Marsh Valley, I like it. Play with house money. You go out, you do your best, and you see where the chips fall.
Yeah, Peyton Campbell, I believe it's his first season as the head coach. And guys, it wasn't that long ago, only 6 years ago, 2019, he was a senior at Marsh Valley High playing baseball for the Eagles baseball team. So it's great to see someone so young getting back in and coaching the girls there in softball. And then our final matchup is that 4 versus 5, Gooding and Teton. This to me, Joel, I feel like if any team says, hey, we got underseeded here, it's Teton. Teton is 16-7. They had to beat Sugar Salem and South Fremont all year long. They beat South Fremont in the best of 3 district championship series. I look at Teton and I'm like, this is a really good team. I feel like they are better than the 5 seed overall.
Yeah, I agree, especially when you're averaging almost 13 runs and you're only giving up 6. A lot of teams that are averaging a lot more runs than that are also giving up a lot, but Teton doesn't. Good batting, good pitching. I think they have like 124 strikeouts overall. Teams bat about 339 against them. So, and they play in a tough conference every year. South Fremont and Sugar is always a tough out. And any 3 of those teams would be great contenders in this 4A state tournament. So I'm very curious to see if number 5 Teton gets the quote upset against number 4 Gooding and then can get on a roll. They won their district, obviously, so they're in a good spot to keep momentum going. But yeah, you beat Gooding, and you're feeling pretty good if you're Teton. Absolutely.
Paul, Gooding is a team you saw with your own eyes on Saturday. You were on the call for their state tournament play-in game victory over Fruitland, 16-10. What stood out to you about this Gooding team?
Rogers. She had 12 strikeouts, 1 walk. Morris had a couple home runs, but it was the pitching. She's phenomenal. She's very, very good. She was able to, pinpoint where she wanted her pitches to go, outside, inside, up top. Very, very good pitcher. And one thing I wanted to say about Gooding is they've got 12 losses, 10 losses. Okay. 4 were to Kimberly, 1 to Boise, 1 to Middleton, 2 to Cole Valley. So you look at those losses and go, yeah, they played some pretty good teams. So I think they could, surprise some people. I think it'd take a miracle to beat Kimberly. in that semifinal. But if anybody's got a shot, you play a team that many times, maybe you've got their number. I don't know. But the thing that stood out to me definitely was the pitching by Olivia Rogers. Pitched the whole game, and she was phenomenal start to finish.
And Scott, there's been a little bit of a changing of the guard over there in the Magic Valley, where Filer owned this conference for so many years and won state titles. And now it's been Kimberly very recently. And Gooding has really done a remarkable job in a short amount of time in turning their program into a tough annual contender.
Yeah, you can't say enough about the job Gooding's done to get here. And yeah, you talked about how 4 of those losses are to Kimberly. Couple of blowout losses. The closest game they had with Kimberly was a 5-1 loss, but you never know. I mean, this is the 5th time that they're going to see Kelsey. So maybe, start your swing earlier. I don't know. But you never know. But Gooding is a really good team that is overlooked. And before Gooding and Kimberly ever get into that second round, that Teton Gooding game, I am super intrigued because that Teton team, I don't know. I mean, you look at who they played, I don't know, whatever, but as a team, they're hitting 453 as a team, but far and away the best batting average of anybody in the field. So how does that translate? You got Kincaid hitting 545 and you got the sophomore Webster hitting at 581, but do they have the pitching to get it done? So I don't know. I'm intrigued by that Teton game, especially with Gooding. And then if Gooding and Kimberly meet again, I don't know. Let's see what happens.
It's tough to beat the same team so many times in one season. And yet Kimberly just keeps on rolling them back. So we will see. That is the 4A state softball tournament taking place at Skyview Park over by Skyview High School in Nampa. As we get ready to move on to the 3A state softball tournament, if you're hanging out with us live tonight on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, or Instagram account, if you could hit the like button or the subscribe button if you're on YouTube and share this when it's all said and done, that'll help everybody who wasn't here live tonight find this a little easier on replay. I suspect a lot of people are going to be tuning into this as they drive to the Treasure Valley Thursday or maybe Wednesday evening to get ready for state softball. That is for sure. Hey, Gary and Nikki Combs in the chat. Let's go, Malad. And here is your East Idaho Prepcast counterpart, Joel Sean Kane. Malad Dragons. Yes, we are going to talk the Dragons and so much more in our 3A state softball tournament preview right after this break. You're watching the 2025 Idaho High School State Softball Tournament preview special on IdahoSports.com.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
All the way. Go. All the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.
Back on the IdahoSports.com State Softball Tournament Preview Special, Z Taylor K in the chat on YouTube. Great stuff, guys, and it is continuing with the 2A State Softball Tournament. Thank you, Z Taylor K. We appreciate it. The 3A state tournament, this is taking place at, it's called Quad Park on the brackets. It's the Gals Field Complex over there in Caldwell. It's a beautiful facility, probably the nicest in the state of Idaho. Paul Kingsbury is going to be parked there for the 3A and 2A state softball tournaments. So, Paul, I'll tee it up for you first. When you look at this bracket, Nampa Christian, the 3, will take on Declo, the 6. The 2 and 7, all District 3, Parma versus Melba. Number 1, Malad, and number 8, Firth. Dragons trying to get back to the top of the podium after just missing out last year. And then North Fremont and Orofino, a couple of district champions meeting in that 4-5 matchup. What jumps out to you first glance at this bracket?
Well, Malad just keeps being good. They won state, then they lost to Coal Valley last year, and then they're back as the number 1 seed. And I'm not sure who's going to beat them, but if someone does, guess what? It's just like girls basketball, Malad and Parma. If the one team that could beat Malad, it was Parma, 1 versus 2. And here we are, opposite sides of the bracket. I think they're on a collision course for the state championship.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Half of the teams here also played in that girls basketball state tournament. I only know that because I was the one broadcasting those. Melba, Malad, North Fremont, and Parma. So, Joel, let's start with the Malad Dragons. Here's the resume: 25-2, 8 softball championships in school history. They were going for 4 in a row last year, Joel, when Coal Valley Christian toppled them. It's still pretty impressive. They've won 4 of the last 6 going back to 2019. They've turned the program over to Bree Adams. She's done a great job as a relatively new head coach. And boy, Wrigley Peterson, one of the best all-around talents in the state.
Yeah, no doubt. Look at that record, 25-2. I don't care who you're playing. It's hard to only lose 2 games all season, right, guys? And that pitching by senior Wrigley Peterson, 13-2, 125 ERA. Over 100 strikeouts. That's amazing play. We've talked a lot about younger teams coming into this tournament, and especially younger pitchers, and how are they going to produce against higher seeded, statistically better teams. In this case, Malad has both. They have the really good team, and they have the senior pitcher who's phenomenal. So, man, I don't know who's going to topple Malad. I think we all want to see Parma Malad go at it one more time. And sometimes it's okay to lose that last year championship when you're trying to go for that 4 in a row, get that dynasty going, right? But you win that 5th one for your seniors, or that 5th one and the 4th one in 5 years, excuse me. That's still super, super sweet. So hopefully it's Malad Parma. But man, yeah, Malad has been dominant all year. They've been, I think, a couple of times. And Sean and I wanted to make them, our East Idaho team of the week a few times, too many times this year, but we tried to keep bouncing around. But Malad kept winning, like Paul said. And man, it's such a fun team to watch, and it's been a great follow for the East Idaho Prepcasters this year for sure.
Well, one of those 2 losses that Malad has was to Nampa Christian, 2-1. So Nampa Christian coming in at that 3 seed. Yet there, and I guess the other loss was to I think it was Logan, Utah. So the only Idaho team to beat them is number 3 on the bracket.
And that was only 2-1 loss, and it was in a tournament. And I don't know where the pitching was, where if they were playing some of their not as played player, some of the bench. I honestly don't know how that went. But the fact they only lost 2-1 in that loss in a tournament game, I think if I'm a Malad fan, I'm okay with that loss.
Yeah, for sure. Scott, as a fan of pitching, I mean, first of all, Wrigley Peterson batting .595 with 10 homers. We've talked about how tough it is to hit double-digit homers. Mm-hmm. Wrigley Peterson, Scott, 119 strikeouts, only 4 walks. I mean, that is astronomically good, but she's not even the leader in strikeouts on the team. You've got sophomore Lydia Gonzalez, who's also gone 11-0 with 121 Ks.
Yeah, pick your poison. And what a great 1-2 combination to have. And I don't know their styles, but, if they have different styles, boy, you can really mess with some hitters. And, the thing about this Malad team is, they're offensively, they're a juggernaut, right? But from the circle and defensively, they've only given up 38 runs on the entire year. I mean, 38 runs. And the last, 10 games, I think 8 runs in the last 10 games. I don't know how many shutouts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shutouts. I mean, it's absolutely insane what they're doing.
Yeah, microscopic for sure. But we did mention it. We all thought Malad coming in last year was the overwhelming favorite, and somebody from the Treasure Valley tripped him up. There are 2 teams lined up and ready to go. Let's talk about Parma first here, Paul. Sam Crockett. This is a guy that just knows how to win on the softball field, no doubt about it. And he has got Wesley Crockett as a senior, dual threat in the circle and at the plate, batting 3 points shy of 600, 597 average. They're 22-3. This looks like, Parma got their first girls basketball championship in school history. Could they get their second softball title in school history this year?
They're fielding it, 94%. They've only got 30 errors, which is phenomenal. 18 home runs on the year. And Sam Crockett, notice New Plymouth, now to Parma. I mean, the guy just knows how to coach. And Crockett, I had her as a junior.
Could be.
We'll figure that out. But yeah, 150 Ks. I mean, that's a lot of strikeouts, and that really gives your defense a chance to rest when she's just striking everybody out. And then there's backup behind her. I mean, Parma's a very, very good team. And so, as I said before, it's a collision course. It's a collision course between Malad and Parma. And if anything other than that happens, it's going to be a shock.
And yet, Parma may not even be the team from District 3 that is opposing Malad, Paul, as you alluded to. Anyone that's looking at Nampa Christian better be shook, because Justin Shook is the head coach. Peyton Shook is the best pitcher inside the circle, and she is also a great batter at the plate. Also 201. I believe this is the first pitcher we've spotlighted that has actually gone over 200 strikeouts on the year, 201 Ks. Nampa Christian 16-4. They didn't lose that often this year either, Paul.
No, and she got those 201 Ks in just 98 innings. You look up and down, and they're at Melba, 123 innings and 100 whatever. 98 innings for those strikeouts and 25 walks. Not bad. She's batting .551, 7 homers. I mean, yeah, she is very, very good. 1.29 ERA in 98 innings. That's just phenomenal. Crazy numbers.
Pretty remarkable there. So those are your top 3 seeds as we look at the bracket again here. Number 1, Malad. Number 2, Parma. Number 3, Nampa Christian. Joel, I am really locked into this 4 versus 5. North Fremont and Orofino. Those are 2 district champions. North Fremont, of course, from District 6 over there in East Idaho. Tell me about the Panthers. They're 18-8, or the Huskies, excuse me. They're 18-8. Right. Erica Robertson, the head coach, and it's a lot of names we recognize from other sports, headlined by Peyton Lenz.
Yeah, definitely. And, Peyton Lenz, she's only got, 3 homers, but home runs are so hard to come by, especially in the lower divisions of softball. But look at that innings pitched, right? High ERA, but she's thrown 180 Ks. We mentioned we haven't talked about anyone hitting over 200. She gets close there, and only 49 walks. So pretty good work from Peyton Lenz, who we've seen from basketball, etc. This North Fremont team, guys, I think Orofino is going to be upset because they feel like they should have that 4 seed. Huskies, though, man, iron sharpens iron in that really tough Newt conference. They had to beat Firth, Ryrie, and then Firth again. Firth still made it, right? They're playing Malad, unfortunately, in their first game. But good stuff. Their record a little bit higher than you might, 18-8, even though they play in that tough conference, which shows you how good North Fremont can be if they get it going. But too often, with a younger team, things can fall apart. And I think in some of those losses, you see that in some of those scores. So curious what kind of North Fremont team shows up against Orofino.
Yeah, I could be wrong here, but I don't believe another player pitched a single inning for North Fremont this year. I think Peyton Lenz did it all. She was it in the circle for North Fremont. I think this is a bad matchup for North Fremont. You see the ERA for Peyton Lenz. It's a little high, and this is an Orofino team that can slug it. I mean, they're 15-8. They were the champs from up north. Riley Diffin, 10 home runs, batting .494. Sean Diffin, the head coach. And then look at Bryn Hanna when she gets on the base paths. 20 steals, 43 runs scored. Great table setter there. And yet you'll notice no pitchers highlighted on this Orofino rundown because, well, Orofino scores a lot. They give up a lot. This game, Scott, could potentially be like, 18-16, something astronomical like that.
Yeah, it's got all the makings to do that. And, you're going to get those once in a while. And you're going to get them in the strangest places that you thought would be like a 3-2 ball game. Somebody's going to get hot. Some pitcher's not going to have their stuff. But every single one of these teams, they've got some star power. And that's why they're here. And I don't care what the record is. They're here for a reason. It's because they got some kids that can play. They got some kids that can hit, kids that can pitch. And you just don't know who's going to show up when this is all said and done. And the thing that really intrigues me about this entire tournament, 6A all the way down, and we mentioned it early, are all the young kids, the freshmen, the sophomores. How are they going to handle a state tournament? I'm interested in that because so many of these young players are so vital to their teams, but have never been on a stage like they're about to get on. How are they going to react?
Yep, everything becomes a little more magnified for sure. And then as we look at our bottom 3 seeds, the 6, 7, and 8, all kind of Cinderellas, all kind of got hot at districts at the right time. Let's start with Declo, Scott, from the Magic Valley. Now, 20, that's not their right record, obviously. I made a lot of these graphics today. They're not 22-4. That's from whatever team I was doing previously.
Yeah,
They're
but
10-13. 10-13.
thank you guys. 10-13. Chancey Christensen is the coach there. They were the number 3 seeded districts, had not been able to solve that Wendell puzzle during the regular season. They lost 2 of 3 to the Trojans, if I'm remembering correctly. And then they beat Wendell not once, but twice at districts to earn their spot to state.
Yeah, it's just about getting hot at the right time. And Declo was one of those teams that did. I mean, they come in with some players. I mean, Sage Wickle, senior leadership. She's leading the team in average. She can hit for power. And, Tegan Wickle is right behind her. So they've got some players. I think that the key, though, is going to be in the circle. McKendry Harris, the junior, 5.01 ERA. I mean, she's a good pitcher. She is a good pitcher, but she is going to see some competition that she's not seen before. And she's going to have her A+++ game in the circle.
I think one thing that Declo, if they have 84 errors on the season, and that's tough when you get into a state tournament. You have to cut down those errors. If they can cut down those errors, Harris, 174 strikeouts, 81 walks, great. But that doesn't do much good if your defense isn't backing you up. And so if they can cut those errors down, that would go a long way for them. And you're in the state tournament, you would think that those errors were going to be slim to none. But if you've got the error bug, sometimes it sticks with you. But that's one thing that stood out to me with Declo was just them and Melba's. We're going to get to, they've got 104 errors, and those errors will absolutely kill you. Especially in softball, you score on an overthrow and move players along. I saw that a lot on Saturday. Overthrows from third to first, bam, move them along. So those errors can absolutely kill you.
Yeah, high walks plus high errors, usually a bad combination there. Let's talk about Melba, Paul. Melba, 10-13 overall. They took 5th out of 6 teams in that Western Idaho Conference. They were the 5-seeded districts. They advanced to the state play-in game where I'll admit I completely expected Grangeville to be the team here at this tournament, but they went up north and defeated Grangeville in their territory, earned their spot to state. Larry Lincoln, the head coach at Melba, but like you said, they tend to give up a lot of runs due to some self-inflicted errors.
Now, Larry Lincoln, one of my absolute favorite guys, I dubbed him the Silver Fox. Larry Lincoln there at Melba. He does PA at state tournaments. Just an all-around good guy. I don't know if he's going to watch this or not, but yeah, I'm definitely a fan of that Larry Lincoln over there in Melba.
Yep. And Callie Adams is a name we'll recognize from state basketball. 10-13 in the circle, 6.83 ERA. If she can even keep that to 2 runs lower, 4, something like that, Melba could be in play. We've talked about a lot of Cinderellas here. We've talked about Jerome. We've talked about Melba finishing 5 of 6. The Capital finishing 10th of 13th and making it to state. Joel, there is no bigger Cinderella in the tournament only because the Firth Cougars in a 5-team nuclear conference took 5th. Now they tied for 5th and 4th basically, but they were the number 5 seed out of 5 at districts. As far as I know, the only last place finisher that got to state. 7-17. They knocked out higher seeded teams like Ryrie, like Salmon, like West Jefferson on their way to state. Brant Wesley's been coaching softball in Firth for a while now. And Firth it doesn't matter the sport. And it's not always pretty, but they always seem to find a way in the postseason.
It's because they're Firth Cougars. It's the mascot, Sorry, I had to. I know Paul is shaking his head. Go Broncos or something. No, dude, Firth is so fun. But yeah, they took the massive scenic route to state, right? They had to beat all kinds of teams as the 5th seed in that new conference we talked about already, iron sharpening iron. And sure enough, Firth, though, gets the sharper end, if you will, of their iron as they do get to state. It's super cool. Unfortunately, we mentioned at the beginning, talking about 3A, they have to play Malad to start. But anyone who can give Malad a run as an 8th seed, I think it's Firth. We mentioned this with 4A, 5A. You're playing with house money. You belong here. Like Scott said, you won the games that you were supposed to win. Even if a couple balls bounced the wrong ways, players playing, astronomical, better than they ever have been in that district tournament, but you did it. It's there, so you can repeat again. So Firth, why not go score, the most runs anyone has scored against Mlad all season long? Why not go and pitch an amazing game against Mlad and show that you belong? They may not win. They probably won't win, but go and play a great game and show that you belong. And a lot of these girls, again, we've already mentioned it, young team. So watch for them the next few years if they do lose the game tonight or this weekend.
And so often those number 7 and 8 seeds at state find a way to be playing on Saturday and competing for a trophy. It happens a lot in softball, especially, it seems like. Okay, we'll take our last break and come back with our final tournament, the 2As. Yeah, there's only the 2 districts, North Idaho, South Idaho. Only 6 teams competing at state, but it's still going to be a lot of fun. And we will break it down for you right after this. You're watching the 2025 Idaho High School State Softball Tournament Preview Special on IdahoSports.com.
At Valleywide Cooperative, we're here when you need us. For 100 years, we have been here to help you with food, fuel, and good old-fashioned advice. And for us, serving is more than a job, it's a way of life, which is why we pour so much into the communities around us. We've employed hundreds of your neighbors. We take pride in that, and in giving back millions in sponsorships, grants, donations, and scholarships. It's our way of saying thanks. We're Valleywide, and yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we're here for you.
Welcome back to the Idaho High School State Softball Tournament Preview Special on IdahoSports.com. Brandon Maney with Paul Kingsbury, Scott Burton, and Joel Richardson as we get ready for our 5th and final state tournament. This is taking place down at the Gals Complex, Gals Fields there in Caldwell. Just a 2-day tournament because there's only 6 teams competing, only 2 districts here. And they get seeded according to max preps. So you'll notice like Glens Ferry, they were their district champions. No first round bye because Potlatch and Genesee are your top 2 seeds. They get first round byes. And then you've got a battle of the valleys, Clearwater Valley from Kuski, Garden Valley from, Garden Valley there in the 4 versus 5. And then you've got Glens Ferry, the 3, taking on Notice, the 6. Let's start our conversation, Paul, with the Genesee Bulldogs. They are not just the defending champions at this level, but the 2-time defending champs. They won it in 23 and 24. Brian Malcolm, great coach, has won a lot of games at Genesee. And boy, it's a lot of the same names we saw from girls basketball season where Genesee got all the way to the state championship game, led by Kendra Meyer, who was the North Idaho Athlete of the Year for small schools this past season.
Right. And Genesee was one of those teams we were talking about 2 years ago. If we would have been doing a softball preview show, like we talked about all these other teams that are young, right? Oh man, they're young and they're so good. They won a championship. Hey, they're still young. They're getting more experience. And here they are as seniors, senior, junior, and they've already won 2. I mean, besides just getting better, they have that state tournament experience, and that can go a long way, big time, having that veteran experience coming in. So winning a championship isn't easy. Doing it twice is harder. You do it 3 times in a row, they have all the pieces for it. They absolutely have all the pieces for it to win 3 in a row on this. And after that, they've got kids coming up, but it's not going to be as easy for them. So this is a great chance for them to make some history. Not a lot of teams go 3 in a row.
Yep. Genesee and Potlatch actually tied for the White Pine League regular season title this year. They each finished 11-1 in conference play. They each beat each other essentially on their home fields. Potlatch won 12-6. Genesee then won in extra innings, in 8 innings, 8-7. And then they matched up in the district championship game, and Potlatch won that one as well, 7-6. So even though Genesee is the defending champions, Potlatch is the team that has beaten the Bulldogs 2 out of 3 times this year. And hey, the one time Genesee hadn't won in the past couple of years, Potlatch won the title back in 2022. Dean Butterfield, head coach there for the Loggers. Haley McNeil, I believe this is the highest batting average we'll see tonight, guys. 622, 44 stolen bases as well, and 39 runs scored. That's a great table setter. She was a fantastic wrestler for Potlatch in the winter, so she's tough as nails. And then inside the circle, Brianna Winther has been great pitching-wise this year as well. But when you look at this, Joel, you see right away 44 steals for McNeil, 47 steals for Olivia Smith. You better keep Potlatch off the base paths.
Yeah, and we saw this. I saw this last Saturday at Malad. The teams that were able to move on the bases quickly, whether it was via errors or stolen bases. I know it sounds like duh, but they scored more, right? Being aggressive on the base pass. You can have the big hits, you can have the home run balls, but if you're not playing that small ball, playing strategic on the bases and taking chances, even you're not going to go very far. So it's good that Potlatch both has a great average from Haley McNeil. That average is insane. That sounds like Scott Burton's average, actually. But having that amazing batting average by Haley McNeil plus a great work on the base pass, that spells trouble for everyone else who's not named Potlatch.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at team stats real quick for Potlatch, they've got 277 runs on 195 hits. Well, that's because they have 285 stolen bases as a team.
Wow.
So they get on base, they're stealing. They are aggressive. I mean, 285 stolen bases, that they're running. You just know that they're running every pitch. Somebody's running on every pitch, and they're not getting thrown out. So you, like you said, play that small ball. You play aggressive, and really you're taking advantage of the other team making errors, right? So if you steal, there's a throw, they miss it, they keep going, and you just rely on the other team making errors. And I think that's really what Potlatch has done, and that's a great strategy.
Yep. It's all semantics here, but Potlatch, I think the well-deserving number 1 seed, 16-1. Their only loss was to Genesee in extra innings. Our third team from the north is Clearwater Valley. The Rams from Kuski, 14-8 this year. Monique Shropshire, the head coach for the Rams. Young team. You'll notice the top 3 players we've highlighted here, a junior, a sophomore, and a freshman. It's actually that freshman, Jesse Rice, that leads the team with a .435 average, 25 steals, 34 runs scored. For Clearwater Valley, of their 8 losses this season, 2 were to Genesee in the regular season, 2 came to Potlatch in the regular season as well, and then they lost to Genesee an additional time at district. So 5 of the 8 losses have come to the top 2 teams and 2 of the 3 favorites in this tournament, if you're looking at it objectively. So Clearwater Valley is a team that I think could definitely win that first round matchup with Garden Valley. And then, okay, you get another crack at Potlatch, and we'll see how it goes. In the regular season, they lost by 3 runs, 7-4. Second time around, Potlatch said, let's not let that happen again. They won 17-1. So we'll see, which of the 2 outcomes happens for Clearwater Valley there. Here is Anna Vogt Vowels from Potlatch. She says, go Loggers. Yes, Potlatch certainly looks like they are in prime position. Genesee and Clearwater Valley are the other teams that are representing North Idaho. And normally we would just have to go off of statistics because North Idaho, South Idaho, especially in 2A softball, kind of operate independent of one another. As we got another Potlatch comment here. Get it, Loggers, from Ty Winther. And of course, we talked about Brianna, the job she's done in the circle this year. But Scott, this year, Glens Ferry, the heavy favorite from the South, actually went north to Cotton and played Prairie, Potlatch, and Genesee over the course of 2 days just a couple of weeks ago. So we actually have some data, some head-to-head data to try and predict how this tournament might go. Now, Glens Ferry defeated Genesee. They had the lead against Potlatch before the Loggers rallied in the 6th inning, I believe, to come back and win that game. But that is, if there's a big 3 in this tournament, it's Genesee and Potlatch, certainly. But then it's a team we've talked about a lot this year on our Magic Valley Prepcast, and that's Glens Ferry.
Yeah, this is a really good Glens Ferry team that did exactly what you said, and they did it for a reason because their conference was really down this year. And, those things are going to happen, but you don't get any better that way. And so they knew it was coming, and they knew they had some players back. So they scheduled this trip up north where, like you said, they played Genesee and beat Genesee. They played Prairie, beat Prairie, and then they lost 8-6 to Potlatch. And you don't think that's kind of sticking in their craw just a little bit? If they get back to that spot again, that loss right there might be the motivation to, that might push them over the hump for a title. You don't know. But, you look at this Glens Ferry team, they've got some studs. Arevelo's hitting .547 on the year. And then Taylor Martinez in the circle, she might be the most dominating pitcher in the field. She is so good. a 1.03 ERA, 257 strikeouts.
Holy cow.
How many?
257. She is averaging 2.2 strikeouts per inning. Wrap your head around that.
That's good math, Scott.
I am a mathlete, and those numbers add up, and they add up to a dominating pitcher in Taylor Martinez. So if they can get Arevalo and some of the best, and Martinez does what Martinez does, don't hang your hat on, don't overlook Glens Ferry, because they have as good a shot as anybody to win this thing.
So often this year, Scott, you and I will sit down for our Magic Valley Prepcast, and we kind of plan out the topics we want to talk about for the week. And I'll be like, hey, let's talk about the no-hitter that Taylor Martinez threw. And then you have to respond with which one, because she's done that so many times where she's thrown multiple no-hitters in the same week. It's just been really fun to watch. So
yeah, it really has. And Coach Case is kind of a friend of ours and a friend of the program and Idaho Sports and the whole 9 yards. But aside from all that, he's got a really good team with a really dominating pitcher. And so she's already thrown against these guys. And she hung in there, beat Genesee, and could have beaten Podlatch. So don't tell me they don't have a shot. They do.
100%. And you mentioned it. Here is Coach Case in the chat. Unfinished business. That's the motto for the Pilots this weekend at state softball. Paul, let's talk about, because if we're being honest, this is a conference that has lagged behind the White Pine League in recent years in softball, with the exception of Glens Ferry. The other teams from the Treasure Valley have really struggled on a statewide level. And yet there were 2 wild card bids available via Max Preps. The top 2 teams automatically from each district got to go. And in years past, it would be 4 teams from North Idaho and 2 from the South. You get your 2 auto bids and that's it. Well, this year it's an even split, which means, okay, maybe they're closing the gap a little bit. We've got Garden Valley and we've got Notice here. Let's talk about Garden Valley first. They went 13-6 this year. That was good for second place in the conference. First time in a long time, I believe, that Mike Chandler is not the head coach. Jerry Noland coaching the girls this year. I look at Gabby Gillette right away. 1 shy steal of 50, a 577 average. And then look at Emma Shanahan batting .725 on the season.
Nuts. And going back to that team stat sheet that I just love to look at. I mean, they're fielding at 953%, 15 errors. Now, stolen bases, out of 346 attempts, they stole 330. So this is another team. Garden Valley loves to run. They love to be aggressive on the base path. They are very good at that. They're quick. And so I think that has an advantage in a state tournament when you can move players along the base path without a hit, so to speak. So I think Garden Valley is kind of that dark horse for me, maybe the underdog that can probably move a little further in the tournament than a lot of people think they can.
Yep. And then wrapping up with Notice, Notice has not had enough players for a team. It's been touch and go the past couple of years. So it's nice to see them have a team, put one together. They're 12-9 overall at state. They did win a title, and I believe they were the last non-North Idaho team besides Glens Ferry, of course, in 2021 to win a state title back in 2018. 3 players batting over 600. That's a good foundation.
Yeah, it is. As Scott has said a few times, it all comes down to the circle. And Emily Thomas, senior, about a 10 ERA, 83 strikeouts, 49 walks. That's kind of it. And so you go up against a good hitting team, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble, even though their defense is good, 0.951% fielding, 11 errors. But if you're giving up a ton of hits, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. So we'll see if Notice and or Garden Valley can break through and maybe get a trophy from this state tournament. That is for sure. And wrapping up, we had Coach Frank Case from Glens Ferry. How about star player Sahira Arevalo? Go Pilots. I love that when the players jump in too. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend. And as we wrap up our state softball tournament preview special, if you are hanging out live with us tonight, if you could, please hit that like button if you're on Facebook. Hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. and share this link when it's all said and done. So everybody that wasn't here live tonight can find this a little easier on replay amongst all the other social media stuff going on as you scroll through your feeds. But Paul, appreciate all the effort. Looking forward to your broadcasts of the 3A and 2A state softball tournaments this week.
I wouldn't say there was a lot of effort put in, but I appreciate it. But it is like you mentioned earlier, that you and I are the only ones doing state softball, and they're going to be quads. You're doing 5A, 4A. I do 3 and 2A. I have it a little bit easier because 2A is just a 2-day tournament, and so I only have to do that first day. Then the NFHS network is going to take over the next. But it's still going to be an interesting way to do it. We've never done it before this way, where it's that NFL red zone, cameras at each field, all feeding back to one broadcast. So hang in there with us as we do this. It's the better than nothing way of doing things, because if we weren't doing this, it wouldn't be done at all on Thursday and Friday. So we're trying to do as much as we can with what we've got. We only had about a week and a half heads up to get guys to do it and figure it out. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, well, it's not quite Michael Jordan playing through the flu, but Joel, we appreciate you coming on tonight.
almost like Michael Jordan. Hey, he's going to be on NBC next year, guys. Did you see that news? That's awesome, man.
He needs the money. He needs the money.
Yeah, seriously. No, but in all seriousness, this has been a pleasure. Really fun to talk softball with you guys. Let's do this show next year. This is a total blast. And I found out for the first time that Scott Burton played softball or baseball. I did not know that, Scott. You another legend, another, what is that called? Another feather in Scott Burton's legend cap or whatever. Yes. I had no idea Scott was a baseball player. That's awesome.
Well, Scott, I don't know if your head's going to fit on the screen anymore. It's getting so inflated, but we appreciate it.
I've got Joel follow me around and just talk.
Right. Well, Scott, we appreciate all your expertise as well here tonight. So.
Oh, absolutely. And I got to turn around and get ready you guys are doing the softball. I'll be doing the 5A baseball. And so now I got to shift gears out of the softball and get into baseball. And tomorrow night we have our baseball show, which you guys will handle. I'm gone.
You're not going to be there?
Previous engagement.
Yeah. So
you're covering me. You already said you were going to cover me in baseball tomorrow night.
Please.
Legend status just dropped a little bit, Scott. It just went down. Yeah.
Oh, dang it. All right. I'll work on that.
For sure.
Yeah.
One more comment for Glens Ferry before we hit the door from Natasha. Let's go, Lady Pilots. Thank you all for doing this. Yeah, thank you as well. It's the support of you, the parents and fans, that really make this possible here at IdahoSports.com. State baseball preview show tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, right here on all these same destinations, the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. But until then, for Paul Kingsbury, Scott Burton, and Joel Richardson, I'm Brandon Maney. Enjoy the state softball this weekend, and we'll see you over in the Treasure Valley, where 5 softball champions will be crowned. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time.